What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about my hometown, my home city, Sarnia. There's a case that happened there that should have been solved a long time ago. So, let's have a look. Sarnia, Ontario. Beautiful treed city with about 74,000 people in it. Beautiful beaches, beautiful parks. Home of the famous Bay Fest, where tens of thousands of people go every year to listen to bands like Kiss, Rush, NSYNC, and others. A home where ships can dock to unload or load, or even come in for winter repairs. New motor, new stacks, new everything. Right across the river from Port Huron, Michigan, where you just cross the bridges, the twin bridges. And you're in Port Huron, Michigan, or back across into Sarnia, Ontario. Beautiful. But today we're talking about one thing only. A beautiful young 14-year-old by the name of Caughlin. What happened to her? Somebody knows. On March 15th, 1974, Karen went to school as usual. She was a 9th grade student at the Skits High School in Sarnia. We know that Karen had made after-school plans. She went to a friend's place. Later, Karen and her friend went to Rose Garden Roller Rink located in Point Edward around 7 p.m. Karen stayed with that friend the whole time they were at the skating rink. They had also made tentative arrangements for Karen to stay over. Karen and her friend left the roller rink around 11 p.m. and accepted a ride from a couple of boys and left in a pickup truck. Karen's friend was dropped off at her home a short time later. Karen continued to drive around the area with the boys and picked up a third boy. The 4 teenagers continued to drive around the city, stopping at A&W for a root beer and visiting other friends which were unidentified, until Karen was dropped off near her friend's house on South Brock Street around 1 a.m. on the 16th of March 1974. This was the last time that we know that Karen was seen alive. The boys who saw Karen have been cleared and are not suspects. It seems that Karen was struck by a vehicle and was left for dead in a shallow ditch on the side of Plowmatch Road, formerly known as Side Roads 6 and 7, in Enniskillen Township, a couple of kilometers northwest of the town of Petrolia. Her body was located on the 16th of March 1974 around 9:50, 10 to 10 a.m. by a farmer, Mr. Fred Bygrove. He stated that he drove by and spotted her body. According to his statement in the papers, his son-in-law had driven by an hour earlier and had claimed that he did not see anything along the shoulder. If Mr. Bygrove and his son-in-law are correct about the time, it means that Karen was placed in the ditch between 9 and 9:50 in the morning. Karen's coat and shoes were located a short distance away from her body in a pile of branches. Her purse was discovered several days later in a ditch just north of Petrolia, southeast of where her body was located. Clearly someone knows how her shoes, coat, and purse came to rest at separate locations from where Karen's body was found. They were specifically placed there. The positioning of the shoes, coat, and her purse make us wonder whether those items contained any biological materials that could be tested for touch DNA. Also, it is not clear whether the soil around them items held any clues such as shoe prints or possibly dropped items. Police have been able to identify the types of vehicles that may have been associated with this homicide. Paint chips were found on Karen's clothing. Those paint chips, indicate that the vehicle involved was this 1971 Chrysler, Plymouth, or Dodge product with a metallic purple paint commonly known as plum crazy purple. This type of paint was used prominently on Chrysler performance vehicles such as Barracuda, Challenger, Charger, the Dart, Demon, the Duster, and the Super Bee. The paint was also used on Chrysler's Belvedere, Coronet, Satellite, and the Valiant. Police feel confident that someone in Sarnia area knows who owned the vehicle that struck Karen and possibly knows who the driver was that night. You see, the problem that everyone has so far with the investigation is one. It is not clear whether the search for the vehicle searched into Michigan or not. Remember, Sarnia is a border city. 2, we are not sure whether the vehicle was a car or could it also be a pickup truck. 3, the paint chips were found on Karen's sweater and coat, but were they found on the front or the back of her clothes? 4, there is a huge gap in the timeline from the moment that Karen was dropped off till Mr. Bygrove finds her. The gap is from 1 a.m. until 9 a.m. 5, is there any possibility that Karen's injuries were misinterpreted and that being struck by a car was not the only thing that happened to her that night? The Caughlin family justifiably feels that in 1974, police did not handle the investigation well. They were asked questions, but the family never got any answers to the questions. In fact, there was no contact with police for 28 years until the authorities opened a cold case unit and started to reinvestigate Karen's death again in 2003. Of course, you immediately wonder why there was no contact for so long, and as a consequence, how much evidence got lost, or how many tips were never investigated, etc. After digging just a little bit into this case, it becomes clear that the timelines do not add up. Several timelines were published in the follow-up posts. Different timelines will be discussed, and the differences between them will be analyzed. Karen was 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed approximately 106 pounds. She had long, mid-back, dark brown hair with beautiful hazel eyes. Okay guys, it's been 48 years. Let's get this one solved. Karen needs to rest in peace. Her family needs closure. Somebody out there knows something. Back in the early 70s, guys that had cars spent so much time in the cars, it's not funny. Under the hood, repairing any dents, scratches, anything. They loved their cars. So if you or anybody knows something about, there's going to be dents on the hood of the truck or the car or whatever that hit her. There's going to be damage. Somebody knows something. Was she taken somewhere, out on a farm somewhere, raped and then killed? Was she taken to Petrolia, Wyoming, Watford, raped and killed again? Like I was saying, guys, somebody knows something. There's a sweater found in her purse that didn't belong to her. She had big gold hoop earrings. They're gone. They're missing. There's so many questions and not enough answers. If you know anything, let's get these scumbags off the street. It's been 48 years that they've been running free. Time's up. Make that call. Make a call to the local OPP or call Crime Stoppers. $50,000 reward. Come on, guys. Let's grow up here and make that phone call. Alright? As for Karen, I hope she rests in peace. She didn't deserve that at all. Later, guys.